What's up, everyone? What's up? Let's do our intros once again. And like, share, subscribe, hit that super chat. And this is my take of shout out to the Roger Report. The Roger Report stream today. He kind of spoke about the debt forgiveness plan from the President Joe Biden. And he was, it was an interesting conversation. I got about 4/10 done with I know that's a weird number to throw out, 4/10. Right, it wasn't exactly half, it was maybe a little bit more than a third, so somewhere around 4/10 of Roger's stream. And I wanted to put my little 2 cents in because I didn't get to listen to it. Well, when mobility in America is stagnating, they kicked people off of, and I want to make sure that I say this correctly. We are in a post-industrial society, and what has happened was the society sold college as a way of attaining upward mobility in the American dream because there was no more stability for working a factory job per se, because there were not enough factory jobs, right? And especially in a digitized society, number one. So you sold the younger boomers, the Xers, and some of the oldest of millennials college degrees. They went to college. Most of them got into career fields that they did not go to school for. They're drowning in student loan debt, especially for millennials and older Gen Z. Well, older Gen Z that just graduated maybe over the past couple years. They're drowning in student loan debt, primarily the women. And so Biden is kind of throwing out this. And remember, he's still reluctant to it. It's his administration and the rest of the Democrats that are like begging him to do this because they see where this can lead to if they don't address it, not only for the Democratic Party, but for the rest of the nation, where this can lead in a very negative place. Now, J.I. was 100% right on selling the American dream and like college being part of that, right? The concept of upward mobility, the concept of a society that has some type of dynamism when it comes to up and down, which by the way is not a thing in America anymore. I already told y'all can look it up yourself if y'all doubt me. More upward mobility in Britain than in America. I'm not joking, right? So yes. So, but the American dream is the concept of upward mobility and be able to stand in the professional managerial class, or upper middle class, or rich, or wealthy, which is like not a thing, but still, and looking down on other people. I mean, like, let's be honest, right? So the fact that that's clearly becoming less and less of a thing, and people can only psychologically masturbate themselves with so much entertainment and live vicariously through their favorite movie star or musician or sports star. They can only do that so much, right? It's like eating chips. You can only eat chips so much before it fills you up without the nutrition and all the calories, right? And that's what we've been selling people also, right? This is where we are. So, and to speak to something Hot Sauce was saying, the game moving to another country will collapse America, because America is supposed to be the land of the free and the country where you see people rise to the top from the struggle. I mean, they literally are making, that's why Jay-Z's on TV every other day, or Oprah, or beyond, like not really Beyonce, but Oprah, Jay-Z, all these other struggle stories. And actually, matter of fact, this country is doing a really funny, which is showing you black people who made it from the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the bottom, knowing that that is becoming less and less of a thing. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. But they show these one-offs as mascots to America's social dilemma, where black people can move up. Look, we're not racist anymore. How does this tie to the conversation about college? College was supposed to be that, right? And what you found was, as more and more people entered college and flooded the college market because they were told that this was the way forward, and I'm a millennial too, if you didn't go to college and you didn't get your degree, then all bets were off. Anything that happened to you in life, you deserved. Anything negative that happened to you in life, it was in the subtext. By the way, I'm not saying anyone overtly said this to you. No one overtly said this to you. But in the background was, well, if you don't go to college, then all bets are off and whatever happened to you, happened to you. If you don't get married, you're bad. You couldn't afford it as a man. If you can't find a stable job, a stable career, you're bad. That's what you get. You should have went to college, right? If you get gunned down in the middle of the street, well, if you went to college, you would have had that bulletproof, that bulletproof Teflon, bulletproof vest of college and money, and you would have been perfectly okay. You decided not to go to college, and so you get what you get, right? You get what you get. And so that was what it was sold. And anybody in the comments, y'all could correct me if I'm wrong. It wasn't overtly said, but what was implied was, if you don't go to college, you get what you get. If you don't graduate college, you get what you get. Your life will probably suck, and that's your fault because you didn't do the necessary things to put yourself in the best position, right? That's what was told. Once again, like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. That's what was told to millennials, right? And what was told to millennials is that you got to become a perfect adult before you can even consider a life with someone else, children and a spouse. So this is something that I stress to some of the elders in this space, some of the older Gen Xers and some of the boomers like Black Uru and BGS. And once again, my millennial brethren and sisterin could correct me if I'm wrong. What was subtly said or subtly suggested to millennials was marriage and children and family formation and the good life was at the end of this kind of maturing process, this cocooning process, if you will, right? So you don't enter adulthood with children and wife in tow as a man. You got to make sure you damn near perfect, and then as a finish line prize is your wife and your children. Now, you can cheat the system by trying to get married poor, or you can cheat the system by having an oops baby, but you'll see. America has a gap growing, and we're trying to patch it with certifications and all these little things that are not going to work. America is becoming like Europe of old, where the professional managerial class is becoming the aristocracy, if you will. And there are lords, and there's kings, better yet, and these are the uber wealthy people and some of the politicians. And their functionaries are that professional managerial class, and some which intermingle with upper middle class, but they're not exactly the same. Upper middle class and professional managerial class are not the exact same, but they do overlap, right? And what's happening is that we're trying to piecemeal this thing together because we don't want to tell people, hey, the uber wealthy ran out the back door with all the wealth, and so for the most part, you're probably screwed. So we keep on blaming the average person, including college-educated people that don't make enough, for their own problems. Should they have took out stupid loans? No. Right? But also, should elders and older people have guided them correctly? Do we really want to be giving tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollar loans to 18 and 19 and 20-year-olds? Probably not. Right? And then what choice did they have when you pretty much told them, hey, you either take out these loans and go to college and gamble, or you don't gamble, or you gamble a different way, and then you get what you get out here in this free market without a college degree. And if you fall on your face, we will walk over you and tell you, haha, you should have gambled on college. Right? You should have went to college, you should have graduated. Now you out here looking sick. Right? It was a catch-22. It was always a catch. Damn, I seen that Black Uber said something. Black Uber, you gotta wait. I'm on the expressway right now. It's gonna take me like maybe, I don't know when I'm gonna get to the next red light. Maybe like 15 minutes. Right? Y'all don't type too much so I can read Black Uru's comment when I get a chance. Right? But yeah, it was a catch-22, and we gotta be honest. The system screwed us. I heard Black Uru say, and yes, Black Uru, I got to hear you say, University of Illinois was $700. The system is becoming stagnant, and we can't blame the average person for that. We can blame the average person for this, for not doing certain necessary things. Thomas Jefferson talk about the tree of liberty. I'm just saying. I ain't gonna say too much more. And for hoping to be a millionaire and a billionaire, and so you don't actually put your foot in their ass when they rigging the system against you, because you hope to be them, so you want the system to stay the way it is. I can blame people for that. The average person, I can blame them for that. But blaming them for allowing their children to take out loans that maybe weren't wise, but they were told this too. Some Xers and older boomers were told this too. Hey, your kid, if they don't take out this student loan debt, if they don't take out this debt so that it can maybe have a chance of prosperity and upward mobility, so they can look down on other people in the future, if they don't take this debt out, then prepare for them to sleep on your couch for the next 20 years. And I know, once again, it wasn't overtly said, but it was kind of suggested. I'm a millennial. And the subtext of our entire, from about really elementary school, but from middle school on up, if you don't go to college, you get what you get, was the theme of our lives, right? The days of our lives. The theme of our life. And now, millennials, most of us, are well into our 30s, scraping 40, if not 40, because the oldest millennials are like 41, 42 now. And what do we have to show for that student loan debt for most of us? Still the student loan debt. And maybe, if you're lucky, a middle management job that pay you $45,000 a year. If you're lucky. Right? Maybe $50,000 a year. Right? Some cool experiences. Right? And a memory of the best sex you probably ever had. That's what you got. Right? Right? But understand what's going on in the society. Once again, y'all know Mr. Z got to bring capitalism in for a little bit of backhand. You're living in a society that's showing you that's all about the wealth, and we told people to go to college to access it while we were locking the doors. I told you, entrepreneurship was at a 40-year low before COVID-19. What you trying to tell me? College educated people didn't want to start businesses, or were they priced out of businesses and then told to go to college and go work for someone and then make a way through that? Right? What's happening is that we locked the doors. Or not we, because it wasn't me and it wasn't you. We allowed the doors to be locked on us, and then we were sold, and our parents were sold, and our younger siblings were sold, go to college, and maybe we'll give you the key to the lock. Go to college, go to university, and maybe we'll give you the key to the lock. Right? And some of us bought into that, and now we're swimming in tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. Yes, I know people that are double $200,000 in debt. I am not joking. Now, some of that loan was extra stuff. We can't lie. Right? Stuff that they didn't necessarily need to take, but they took anyway. Yes, of course. And I don't know a college-educated woman that's not at least $40,000 in debt. I don't know one. Y'all point me in the direction. Right? Especially a college-educated black woman, I don't know one that's not at least $40,000 in student loan debt. And Mr. Z knows a lot of college-educated black women. Right? Okay, I'm at the red light. Let me see if I can hurry up and read Black Looter's comment. That was largely sold to younger boomers and Gen X too. Remember, it was younger boomers and Gen X who first saw the industrial and trade gigs leave the country or disappear altogether. I agree. Once again, like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. We got Black Looter in the comments. Black Looter tax. He's not even on the panel. I'm trying to tax y'all. But, okay. And Black Looter's right? And that's for Xers and boomers. Imagine how millennials came around, right? All these technical, and there are there are a nice chunk of millennials that do have technical degrees, right? That do have certifications, and even they're still struggling, right? If y'all ever look at the U.S. debt clock and you see how much of the American population is actually working, it's like a little bit less than half. Last time I checked, and that was like last week, right? The U.S. debt clock shows you like there's some 330 odd million people, right? And like less than half of that population is working. And it varies a little bit more than half, a little bit less than half, but something like that, right? And I think that's the environment. And the society has to sell you, once again, like J.I. was saying, has to sell you the concept of upward mobility. It has to sell you that dream. This country would be in flames in a matter of days if they did not sell people the temporary embarrassed millionaire concept, right? Just do these things and you will be fine, right? You too can be rich and wealthy and look down on other people, right? Just go to college, go into your career field for a few years, go start your own business, and bing, bam, boop, you too are a millionaire, right? That is why Americans have just a woefully ignorant view of money. How many of us, outside of Mr. Z, yelling it from a mountaintop, how many of us knew before that only 40% of Americans can afford a $400 emergency? 60% of Americans can afford a $1,000 emergency. 80% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. That is an overlap with your college educated people, by the way. Now, if you're college educated, are you more likely to be in that bottom 40% or bottom 60%? Of course not. But 80% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. You better believe that many college educated people are in that bottom 80% that can't afford, that live paycheck to paycheck. My apologies. Right? We're talking about the American dream here. This is bigger than college forgiveness, actually. We're talking about the concept of upward mobility and social dynamism, if I'm saying that word correctly. Right? We're talking about telling people that they too can live the American dream and have the 2.3 kids and live in the suburbs with the white picket fence. Right? That's what we're speaking about. And the roads to get to there. What roads do people take to get to that position? Are those roads still available? And what are we doing to block those roads as a society? And how are we making those roads easier? Right? This is bigger than just college degrees. College was supposed to be the way for the past, give or take, 40 years now. Because America was transitioning to something else. And I think the system is beginning to atrophy. And so we're just selling people more and more dreams without the actual results of the effort that they put in to achieve those dreams. And we have to be honest about that. People know there is no guarantee. I'm not going to say American people are that dumb. People know there is not a guarantee. We all know this is all a big gamble. We all know that. But you can't make it that difficult. You can't allow the uber wealthy and their functionaries to lock people out and then just sell people the dream without the upward mobility for enough people. This is where you get live vicariously through your favorite celebrity, because you ain't gonna have nothing, right? This is where we get that from, right? And that's what's going on. So the $10,000 That's nothing. I agree with everybody on the panel that was like, that joke. I'm saying that as a person with no student loan debt. I did attend college. I dropped out. I'm saying that as a person. But if you're going to give the money, if you're going to raise our taxes, because I don't know how much I'm actually against this now, there is some, I'm going to touch on something in a minute. When you look at foreign aid, when you look at money going to corporations and tax cuts for corporations, there is something to be said about the debate we're having about college loan debt that many of us are not having about, because we think it's okay, right? Because some of us have entrepreneurial dreams and we wish we would get government tax cuts too, right? So we have a problem because really this is personal. We're tired of our snobby ass sister in her mouth. And so we want her to drown in that student loan debt. Yeah, I went there. Right? So we don't want her to actually get from under the thumb of student loan debt. Right? Because some of us have snobby ass family members and relatives that kind of hit you upside the head with their college degree in a conversation, or they imply and suggest that they know more than you because they have a degree in like something that has nothing to do with the conversation, but because they have a degree, they think they know more than you in everything. Right? But here's something. More women have attended college than men for the past 40 years at increasing numbers, right? So now it's a 60-40 split, but women have been attending college and graduating college more than men since 1980 or 1981, if I'm not mistaken. Here's the question. What happens when you forgive all of the student loan debt? Because the only thing keeping many of these women's feet to the ground is the student loan debt. The only thing keeping them from being even more snobby and even more a-hole-ish than they already are, and even more smug than they already are, is the student loan debt. What happens when you forgive all of their student loan debt? And what happens to the men that actually attended college and graduated when you forgive their student loan debt? Remember, 60-40 split right now as of 2022. What happens? You want to talk about a handful of dudes wiping up everything? Piping everything? Right? Super Saiyan smug. Not really from the men, but from the women. That's something else to consider. What does this environment look like if you were to Thanos snap every woman's student loan debt away? Right? That's something to think about. But back to what I was saying. So, yeah, the US floats a lot of countries with billions of dollars in US aid that it could be spending at home on social programs, on roads and bridges, on the infrastructure bill, which Mr. Z was in agreement with, outside of some of the particulars, of course, because they were trying to ram through, pun intended, ram through certain things that people didn't want, right? Certain programs that people were not asking for, that had nothing to do with bridges, roads, libraries, computers, and all that other stuff, schools, right? Certain things about rainbow flags in other countries that were supposed to be part of this infrastructure bill, and all type of craziness. I was not in agreement with that. But if America is supposed to stay competitive, if China is posing a threat, if other European countries are posing a threat, at least socially, to the concept of America being a place where people can climb up and make something of themselves, even if they come from the bottom, right? If America is supposed to be the beacon on the hill, rest in not so much peace, Ronald Reagan, right? then you're supposed to have a society that reflects that. You're supposed to have a society that reflects that and that shows that, right? And I think that one of the issues that we have is that we don't have it, and we're just selling people on celebrity and different notable people in our society. Once again, the Jay-Z's of the world. And there's a reason why I keep on harping on him and Oprah, right? The rags to riches stories, which exist, which would have inevitably existed, right? Now, how common they are, that's a different question. That is dependent on how open your society is. The rags to riches stories are and how common they are dependent on how open your society is. You don't have to talk so much about the rags to riches stories if your society is more open, because it's so common, it's known. But when your society starts to stagnate, you'll talk about it even more. You'll post those people even more, because you want to show, hey, look, we're open, we're free, look, racism, not a thing, right? Upward mobility, a thing. Meanwhile, we open the books and not so much, right? So that, I would argue the conversation was bigger than just the college debt. It was what Jay, I was saying, how do you sell your society's American dream? And before, it was strictly hard work. Before it was college, it was strictly hard work, right? You too can be part of this democracy, this American experiment, if you would just put your head down, work hard, right? You too, through hard work, through sheer effort, can put your children in a better position, can get married, can pay your mortgage, maybe get a car or two. You didn't move too well. If you go to college, or at least if you send your children to college, you can see your children live that life if you don't live that life. What's the dream now? What is America selling now? You too can be a billionaire if you just get into the entertainment industry and become big. What is the American dream now? You want to know why all these kids want to be, air quotes, influencers on social media somehow. Even think about the gig economy. Think about how that was sold. Uber and Lyft and you know, Instacart. How is America selling the American dream now? What, go learn Chinese and go get into some type of STEM degree? Or go get a STEM degree and go work somewhere in Silicon Valley and then branch off and start your own business? And if you can't make it that way, then die, starve, I don't know, right? Right? I looked down, T. Riddler said, coding boot camps and you can make 6 figures. Yeah. Black Uru says, but some people get pissed when you say America picks winners and losers. America picks winners and losers. The financial crisis of '08 should have showed you that. America picked winners and losers. Wait a minute, we're in the black manosphere. Isn't half of our complaint that America is picking winners and losers in the black community and picking black women to win? It's interesting when people can't make these connections. You understand it in this aspect, but you don't understand it in that aspect because your ego won't let you. America is the Homestead Act, anyone? Who gets considered white and what it means to be white in America? America's been picking winners and losers. Right? Reparations for the Japanese internment. Meanwhile, black people just sitting down twiddling their thumbs. America picks winners and losers. America's been picking winners and losers. The model minority. Hey, we ain't gonna do, hey, civil rights pass, all the civil rights laws pass. All right, we ain't doing nothing for these black people for real. Start bringing in them Asians. Ooh, look how hard they work. Look, model minority. That's picking winners and losers. H-1B visas, instead of educating your people at home because you feel like it's gonna cost too much, you're picking winners and losers. Passing the anti-Asian hate crime bill or the Asian hate crime bill in a matter of weeks is picking winners and losers. America has been picking winners and losers, right? And that's another part of the conversation. $10,000 student loan debt forgiveness is really just a throwaway, right? Especially when you think about the 1.5, 2 trillion, how many trillions of dollars combined are people in debt, in college loan debt in America? I remember when it first hit $1 trillion, right? Then I remember checking again and it was at 1.3 trillion, right? Black Uru says, you think it's just hard work that explains why most of the blacks in Ivy League schools are not ADOS? Get the fuck out of here. Exactly. Exactly. And I'm saying that as a child of immigrants. Even when we speak about that, the reason why I ride with ADOS is because I see what America is doing when it comes to using non-ADOS black people as the face of upward mobility, because it doesn't have to pay the debt. The debt of slavery and the debt of Jim Crow, it doesn't have to pay that if it props up a Nigerian and says, look, we're not racist. This person is black. And they graduate from an Ivy League. Never mind that all their friends are white and their spouse is white. And they have an Igbo last name. Never mind that. Never mind that. Or Yoruba last name. Never mind that. Never mind that. And their dad is somebody important, or their uncle is somebody important back in Nigeria. Never mind that. And never mind that they look down on ADOS. Never mind that. Never mind that. As a matter of fact, we like that part. Right? But you can't say we're racist because that person still is black. Right? Or they said something cringy and show they're out of touch with black America. Oh, don't pay that attention either. Oh, they approved the monkey on the shirt thing from H&M, even though no black person from America, Europe, Canada would ever approve that. Never mind that either. Right? So yes, America picks winners and losers. I thought we understood that as black men, part of the black manosphere. Right? I thought we understood that with Kamala Harris. Every time she opened her mouth, she says something retarded. I thought we understood that. I thought we understood that even in our conversation about the former President Barack Obama. If his dad was part of his life, would he have been president? Right? I thought we understood these things. Kevin C says, Indigo Flow, it won't change anything for women. They'll just use the debt-free status to rack up more debt. Men will have to go somewhere else to find suitable women. Yeah. Yeah. The game is going global. So Hot Sauce was right about that. The game is going global. Unfortunately, the way the game works is that poor people can't move. That's the point. Didn't we see that with Flint in the water crisis? Poor people can't move. They can't afford to move. Imagine this. You're so poor, you can't even afford to move to put yourself in a better position to not be poor. So once again, this feeds into the professional managerial class, racking up even more wealth, right? The game is going global. That's why you see certain Asians moving around the planet trying to get the best bang for their buck. Some Middle Easterners doing the same thing. Well-off South Americans doing the same thing. Now, where do they get that money from? Some of it is legitimate businesses back home, and some of it, a lot of it, is corruption. Ask me how I know. A lot of it is trying to clean their money. But the game is going global. The problem is poor people are still stuck. The poor people in the shanty towns in India are still stuck there. Right? The poorest of the Chinese are still stuck there. The poorest of the Americans are still stuck here. For the most part. Right? We have to be honest about the game. Now, you could give different solutions, different answers that you think will be best suited for the society and for Black America, but you first have to be honest about the game. Right? And be honest how the game is rigged. And yes, like Black Uru said, America picks winners and losers, and it always has. Slavery? I mean, please. The difference between slavery and indentured servitude? Jim Crow? What was Jim Crow but picking winners and losers? Separate but equal was never equal. I mean, winners and losers. Redlining? Right? Who got to participate with the GI bills and everything like that? America's always picked winners and losers. Is this $10,000 student loan forgiveness really going to affect Black women and women in general and just college educated people that positively? Not when you see that most of them are sitting on $20, $30, $40, $50, $60,000 of student loan debt plus. But for those of them that are closer to the $10,000 mark, they're almost finished paying it off. They have $12,000 left, $15,000 left. That's a nice chunk, $10,000, that's good. But once you get to $20,000 plus, $50,000, 40, 60, $10,000, that, I mean, it's appreciated, but did it really help? It's a different question. Right? This is before we get into the conversation of what people are going to school for. I know we talk about people going to school, namely women going to school for these frivolous degrees. I get it. I get it. But even if they weren't, be honest about what America sold young people. When I say young people, I'm talking about under the age of 40, under the age of 45. What did they tell them about going to school? Imagine being an 18-year-old and for the better part of a decade, at least since you were 8 years old, the background music of your life was, if you don't go to college, whatever happens to you, happens to you. You out here. Whatever negative thing happens to you, so be it. You should have went to college. You should have graduated. Imagine the fear of thinking that if you don't go to college and you don't graduate, you out here in the wilderness, in the elements. Right? And your parents being also sold that too. That's why your parents also push you to go to college and graduate. If your child doesn't go to college and graduate, they're out here. They'll be sleeping on your couch for the next decade or two. I'm serious. Any millennials around my age, I'm 36, y'all tell Mr. Z if he's wrong. Tell Mr. Z if he's wrong, if that wasn't some of the background music going on in our life. If you're born and raised in America. Yes, we knew about certificates and other technical degrees that you could get from 2-year institutions and whatnot. Yeah, we were told about that. Mainly the boys and the men were told about that. But that wasn't the gold standard. The gold standard was a 4-year degree from a reputable university or college. Right? This is about the American dream and how you sell it and how accessible it is. Right? This is about the American dream. This is not just about Biden, signing some bill and forgiving $10,000 worth of student loan debt. What does a nation look like? Because even China had to sell some type of dream, right? And it's getting harder and harder for them because they're not growing at double digits no more. Growth is how you buy people and sell people. You buy people from burning your nation to the ground because you promise them some type of upward mobility, some type of material progress. Not just psychological, but material. Even China had to get into that game. And shout out to Black Uru, he said, and who it is accessible to, yes. Who is the American dream accessible to also? Right? This is important. That's important. This is more than just $10,000. Like I was saying, this is more than just $10,000 in debt forgiveness. This is about more and more of your young people becoming disgruntled because they're coming out of school, even high school. They're coming out of high school to gig jobs, and they're coming out of college to BS jobs that's only paying them at most, if they're lucky, $15 an hour. If you're super lucky, $20 an hour. Meanwhile, you $60,000 in student loan debt, $50,000 in student loan debt. And if you're really, really, really lucky, you're coming out to a job that's paying you $20 an hour. Right? If you're really lucky. But more likely, I will tell you, I know many people who are walking out with master's degree being offered $15 and $17 an hour jobs with master's degrees, and not basket weaving either. $15 and $17. For those of you that don't, $15 an hour is something like $31,000 a year. So 17 is what? 32, 33, 34,000, something like that. Somewhere between $32,000 and $34,000 a year. Black Guru says, and you have encouraged women to be estranged from men, further lessening the ability for people to work together to settle the debt. Yeah. Well, that's where you get into the selling the idea that you have to be this uber upwardly mobile, rich, upper middle class person to even consider being married. Because this is why Mr. Z brings this up all the time. Once again, referring to myself in the third person. Look at who's getting married and then look at who's staying married. It really is that top 20, top 25% of Americans. Are we saying that those people are the only ones that take this seriously and that take family formation seriously and the nuclear family seriously? Or have we priced the bottom 70, well, more like 75 to 80% of Americans outside? When I say that, I really mean the men. Did we price them out of the game? Did we price them out of the game by selling our daughters Barbie dreams? Right? Did we price them out of the game? Once again, like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. That's something to really consider. And that might be, by the way, I'm doing, and this might be included, Sunday, right? I should be doing a live around 7 o'clock Eastern time, just talking about money, right? Classes, money, wealthy people hoarding all the wealth, all of that. I wanted to do it specifically about class, but then I just started watching and reading way too much, and then I just said, screw it, we're just gonna do money. Just throw everything in the pot, and hopefully I'll let people on to give their take and even disagree with me if you disagree with me, right? A lot of the stuff I'm gonna be reviewing is kind of a lefty perspective of it, but that's mainly because of my perspective of money and wealth. But I welcome anybody conservative or center right or whatever to come on and have that conversation about where do we go from here, especially as black people, right? But the information is just the information. It's not left leaning, but the information is just the information. The perspective is left, but the information is just what it is. That the numbers are the numbers. That whole women lie, men lie, numbers don't, that's BS. So I'm not even going to give y'all that. But the numbers are the numbers, right? So this is the environment that we're in now. People lying, people selling you a lie about upward mobility. And then when young people start to make a stink about it, now they want to forgive $10,000 of student loan debt. Sounds much like the infrastructure bill that started off at what? How many trillions of dollars and then got watered down to what? 1 trillion, if even? 1.2 trillion. It started off as like $6 trillion or something like that. We're going to have to start speaking about a system atrophying and what it looks like, right? And what it looks like to sell your people on a dream that was never going to be accessible for all people. And I think everyone kind of knows that. But what does it look like to sell your people on a dream that you're making more and more difficult to access? For the women, it's easier. For the men, not so much. For black men, definitely not so much. But then even for the women, it's not what it used to be. A lot of this is just ego stroking, giving them titles and then paying them $40,000. At least they got an office, maybe. But paying them $40,000, $45,000 and giving them some middle management title, right? Notice how personally anecdotal your rugged individuality types get on this subject. They almost never talk about the broader environment, the microscopic numbers and stats. True. Well, that's kind of what I was speaking to when I was speaking about Jay-Z and capitalism, right? That's kind of what I was speaking to, right? Art New Style says facts. Understand who we have in the chat right now, somewhat agreeing with me. I'm not going to say they always agree with me or they all the way agree with me on this. Art New Style, highly educated black man out of California, the LA area, and Black Uru, CPA out of Illinois in the metro Chicago area, right? I ain't going to give too much else of y'all information, you guys, right? These are not bums. These are not people that we would say didn't achieve. We have to be honest. And Mr. Z is not necessarily struggling either. But I'm honest about the game and the environment. And I can be honest about how lucky I got in certain parts of my life. That if I'm honest, if I didn't get lucky about who I was related to, who took a liking to me, just my personality overall and people taking a liking to that, where would I be? I have to be honest about that. We we used to have something a little bit more equitable. This is before we count Jim Crow and slavery and all of that. But then even when you speak about at the very beginning of the end of the civil rights movement, when America was like, okay, we gotta at least have some tokens out here. We need black mayors everywhere, right? Black mayors everywhere. All the major cities just give them, you get a mayor, you get a mayor, you get a mayor. Black mayor, that is, right? Black people just flooding master's degrees, PhDs, mainly the women, but you know. We gotta show them. We gotta show the world that we're not as racist. And remember, America is Cold War with the Soviet Union at this time, right? And the Soviet Union keeps on backhanding America with, look how you treat your Negroes, right? Now, it's a different conversation. Now with Francis Fukuyama says, with the end of history, now America doesn't have to do that. And you can see how that's gone. And then you mix that in with Bill Clinton kicking these women off of welfare and go to college. Here go to student loan, go to college. And you see how we get here. America has nothing to prove to anyone anymore. Increasingly China, but that's a different conversation. Remember the Chinese dignitary throwing in America's face, BLM and all that other stuff. Once again, that's another way of saying, look how you treat your Negroes. We ain't gonna talk about how China treats its Uyghurs. Oops. Right? Who has lots of know, and this is Black Uru, you guys, who has lots of know and experience in government, not-for-profit education. I know a lot about how these systems work, and merely being hardworking is not the primary factor of things. Yes, agreed. Art New Style. People that are not college material need to stay out of college conversations and stay in their lane. I mean, Art New Style, I am a college dropout. I mean, are you talking about me? I know you're not talking about me, Art New Style. But yes. Wait, I passed two of your messages, Black Uru? I mean, not Black Uru, Art New Style? No, I think I read your messages. Maybe you're not talking about me. Right? But you guys, I'm about to come to an end. Catch it on the replay. Time for me to pause. I just watched this little boy almost bust his butt on one of those scooter thingies. Right? But I think my final statement is gonna be, this is bigger than just $10,000 in student loan debt forgiveness. I'm happy we're having this conversation about money in class in the Black manosphere more and more, right? And we're coming off, and I'm happy, at least we are, I don't know about the women, but at least we are coming off the stupor of like, well, if you ain't rich, you deserve what you get. I will continue to remind you guys that was a lot of the Black manosphere theme for some years. If you were here like I was here, yes, I wasn't active in the chats and all that stuff, but if you were here like I was here, y'all remember that being part of the conversation of like, nigga, you get what you get. If you ain't rich, you get what you get. Right? Out for this, out for that. I'm happy that we're kind of coming off that stupor now and being more honest about what the environment is and what these women are and what the economic landscape is. Are student loans the only way that Black people can get into college? Let me know. I don't think it's the only way. Obviously, there's grants and loans, especially if you have really good grades and you know you do all your prereqs and your what's the word I'm looking for? You make yourself like, you know, you big yourself up and you know, you just make yourself that person, and colleges and universities look at you, or especially if you're maybe getting you're going in for sports or something, or academics, really high achieving academics, of course not. But for everybody else, right? And should college go back to being something that like the top 10% get, and that's about it, right? That's a different conversation. And what does that look like? Because colleges and universities, they're closed. There's some that's closing, right? Black Uru says you get deep into this stuff, and you learn about who are related to whom. Yes. Who went to high school and college with whomever, who is banging whom, etc. Bootstrap my my black ass. Thanks for clearing that up, because a lot of people in this space make it look like that's the only way. No, no, definitely not. Definitely not. Definitely not. Academic scholarships, sports scholarships, scholarships in the arts. I mean, art, art, right? Stuff like that. No, student loan debt is not the only way. Definitely not. Definitely not. But for everybody else, right? And I don't think people would have a problem with small amounts of student loan debt, like what Black Uru was saying earlier, right? But once you start getting into like tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of student loan debt, and you're not going to an Ivy League or like a second tier school, right? And then you come out with a okay degree. We're not talking about a degree in basket weaving, right? And I'm one of those people that don't believe just because you have a degree in social work that means that it's okay to pay you peanuts. We need people that do social work. Why does everybody have to go to school for STEM before we're like, okay, we understand your student loan debt? You need people to be therapists. You need people. You need that in your society, especially a supposed advanced society. I think the conversation about like STEM degree or nothing, doctor, lawyer, or STEM or nothing, kill yourself. I think we doing too much when we start speaking like that. I get why we speak like that, right? Because some people in the black community, right, go to school, get these frivolous degrees, and now you as their boyfriend or husband is supposed to help them pay that off or pay it off completely. I get it. I know why we speak the way we speak. But you do need in a supposed advanced society, you do need people with degrees in some type of social work. And that's usually women, right? Now, what they decide to do with that degree when they get it, that's a different story. How much they're willing to go into debt for that degree, especially when you see how much their potential income is, that's a different conversation. Right? And I'll give Black Uru the last word. And you need people in STEM areas who know more than just how to program Python and C++. True. And I think, to be honest, I kind of covered this in my conversation, one of the live streams I did, where I played Yuval Noah Harari and Tristan Harris speaking about this. If you notice, Tristan Harris really understood a lot about how the mind works. And he was like a low-level magician. And he knew how to things about how to trick the mind. And he spoke about how a lot of these programmers, they know a lot more about the brain and about brain chemistry and how to release endorphins and all these other things and dopamine and all these other things than we give them credit for. Some of them, yes, Black Uru, like you said, are just the ones and zeros people. But then the others know way more about how to play with the mind than we would like to give them credit for. And that shit is scary, right? You want to know why your kids are hooked on TikTok and all this other stuff and how addictive social media is, right? And I'll truly pause right there. Thanks for being here with me this afternoon. Once again, this is bigger than just $10,000 in student loan debt forgiveness. This is about upward mobility in your country, in your society. This is about the American dream. This is about selling a society's openness, and you can make it if you try, in meritocracy and all of that. This is about all of that, right? Michael Sandel spoke about this, the myth of meritocracy, right? And this is a Harvard professor, if I'm not mistaken. We have people that are accomplished speaking about much more difficult it is to be in their position. Because when they take the glasses off of I made it, you can make it, they're much more honest about what's going on in our environment currently. And I'll truly pause right there. Once again, thank you for being here with Mr. Z this afternoon. Love and peace. Chicken grease. All right, you guys. I'm out.